I want to go to Cenk Uygur joining in live from Ohio. Let's hear who he believes won tonight, who lost tonight, and then we'll get to your answer, John. What's up, Cenk?
So, hey guys. So I think we have a clear winner in tonight's debate, and there's actually two winners. The second one's not a person. I'll explain in a second. The person who won the debate tonight was Bernie Sanders. He got a trifecta. First, he had to show that he was healthy. He showed he was perfectly healthy. I think that issue is close to done now. Secondly, he had to actually win the debate. He did that fairly easily. So Biden had his best answer when he said, look, these are the things I got done. I turned to the person next to me, who, by the way, was Michael Schur. I was like, that was his best answer of any of the debates. Then Bernie came back and was like, yeah, Joe, but let's talk about the things you also got done, like the Iraq war and the bankruptcy bill. And I was like, oh, crushing blow. Crushing, finish him. So he showed great vitality. He defended his positions, but more important than any of that, he staked out the ground that he needed to stake out, which is, I'm for a revolution. I'm for a wholesale change. These guys want to play around the edges. I'm going for the whole enchilada. And he made that case very clearly, succinctly, and strongly tonight. So a huge win in that sense.
Very strong.
The third win is, I don't know if you guys saw, it just broke just a couple of minutes ago. It looks like AOC is going to endorse Bernie Sanders. That's a surprise guest in Queens over the weekend. So just when people thought he was down, here comes Bernie. And AOC jumps off the top rope to help him. Look at that, man. Courage. When everybody thinks Bernie's down, AOC doesn't go with what is popular and what everybody else is doing. She has a perfectly viable progressive candidate to go with here as well. No, she comes in to back up Bernie Sanders when he needs it most. So a giant win for Bernie tonight.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on AOC's endorsement. I think it makes all the sense in the world, because even if there are policies that you like with Warren, the fact of the matter is the reason why we're having this progressive conversation to begin with is because of Bernie Sanders moving the goalposts, right? And pushing the candidates to accept progressive policies, not as something that's fringe, but something that is popular with American voters, something that American voters want. And by the way, that movement that he created really did pave the way for candidates like AOC. Let's keep it real.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Cenk.
Who lost?
Yeah, so two things real quick. One on the issue of AOC and Bernie Sanders and the progressive movement. Does anyone doubt that Bernie Sanders carried this movement on his shoulders for 40 years? You can't possibly doubt that. Does anyone doubt that we're having all these conversations about Medicare for all and bold progressive ideas and income inequality because Bernie started it? No one can doubt that. There's no question that Bernie started all that. It doesn't mean that another candidate might not be, your candidate might not be fantastic, but you have to give credit where credit is due. And I remember 2018 primaries when Bernie Sanders got together with AOC and they went and fought for progressives all across the country, including in primaries. So all this time, Bernie Sanders had progressives back. So I think that it is very fitting for AOC to say, now I got your back. And to that point, the second point I wanted to make about the debate that is so important is, look, every debate we have, the progressives get a bigger and bigger lead and the establishment guys fall further back. They're in a world of hurt and they don't know how to respond. So here, the second biggest winner was the progressive movement overall, because they keep attacking Elizabeth Warren. They did that a lot on this debate. They attack Bernie Sanders, but all it does is it fuels their fire, because you got the Klobuchars and the Bidens and the Buttigiegs all saying no big change. We don't want big change. We want change around the edges, tiny little change. Status quo is pretty good. We just want a tiny bit of change. That is a losing political strategy, even if you agree with it on policy terms. I don't, obviously. But even if you did, that is not good politics to say, I'm against change, I'm against hope. Remember Obama's signs, they said change and hope. So Warren and Sanders now polling at number 1 and number 2 in the last poll that came out, George Washington University nationwide, Biden slipping to number 3. That will continue. And tonight, I think we put away almost all of the establishment guys. I think it's really down to Sanders versus Warren in a progressive dream come true.
So Cenk, what did you think? Because you're right. I mean, there were a lot of attacks toward Warren, which makes sense because at the moment she's the front runner. She's beating Biden in the polls. Biden in some polls is down to third place. But one of the attacks that I thought was interesting was when I think a layup question toward Tulsi Gabbard turned into an opportunity to try to attack Warren, but it didn't really land. And so it's weird because Tulsi Gabbard seems to be supportive of the Kurds in northern Syria, but her answer didn't seem to support the Kurds. I mean, when she's not on the debate stage, she's said things, and she tweeted too, that Trump has blood on his hands over what he did in northern Syria. But on the debate stage, she refused to condemn him and immediately attacked Warren. What did you think of that?
Yeah, so it was actually telling because it's not about Tulsi. Tulsi at this point is under 1% in the polling. She has decided to target different candidates in different debates. When she went after Kamala Harris, her attacks landed because they rang true. They were correct and they hurt Kamala real bad. When she went after Warren in this debate, she clearly did that several times over. They didn't land because she was trying to say that Elizabeth Warren is going for too much. Well, look, I remember when Tulsi was far more progressive. She sounded, among the most conservative candidates tonight, which was, even at this late date, is a little surprising to me. So when she took on the conservative role rather than the progressive role, it totally backfired. It didn't work at all. All these attacks, the only attack that landed on Warren was she should be clearer and say, look, yes, taxes for the middle class are going to go up by a little bit, but their costs are going to go down so much they're going to have overall savings. And I'm not embarrassed about that. I'm going to save the middle class a giant amount of money. And you should flip it around and ask these other establishment Democrats, why do they want to cost the middle class so much money? The healthcare right now is an outrageous cost. And so I'm also tired of never having a progressive moderator in any of these debates. Every question was framed from an establishment point of view or a Republican point of view. There's never a progressive question. But despite all that, Warren, in her defense of these outside of that tax issue, seemed like she was defending the American people, the average worker, fighting against corruption. And the only person doing it even more so is Bernie Sanders, and he's the one that I think ultimately won the debate.
What do you think about the very limited time that they gave Bernie? And when I say limited time, they barely even really went to him. At one portion of the debate, I mean, I felt like we went at least 30 minutes without even hearing from him. So while I agree that the moments that he had on that debate stage were strong and he absolutely did look healthy and that was an important thing to prove to the American people, I just worry that he wasn't given enough time to really suss out some answers and some policy proposals that are important for Americans to hear.
So I get why you're saying that. You're empirically correct about the amount of time that he had, but I actually think it played well for him, and I'll tell you why. Because Elizabeth Warren is considered the front runner now, so she got most of the attacks and most of the questions, and that makes sense. That's normally how it goes. But it allowed her to take a lot of the hits, and it allowed Bernie to just pick his spots and come out really strong and succinct in the areas where he talked. So instead of feeling like he was besieged the whole night, which is how he normally feels in a debate, he got to attack on his terms. So that's why I actually think it worked out better for Bernie. But I'm telling you guys, the biggest story of the night is the Buttigieg attacks seemed a little desperate. They didn't land. None of the establishment attacks landed. They all backfired. So these guys are nearly done and they don't even know it. This thing's almost over.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.